I'm Madhu Sharma and this is Design Mind. Every episode, we teach your mind about design by analysing a website. In this episode of Design Mind, we are looking at the New York Times cooking website. The site is still in beta, but it is a stunning example of clean, flat design and has a beautiful app-like interface. Because the site is in beta, you have to register to access it. Even from this registration screen, you can instantly tell that this site is something amazing. This large background imagery is extremely emotive. Food photography in general has a strong emotional appeal, but this image takes it further by showing the food being prepared. The large size means that every detail is clearly visible. You can't help but imagine all the delicious smells that are in this scene, not to mention the lovely feeling that comes from handling the ingredients. You'll notice that the tomatoes are the only ingredients in this scene. That's because, as we will see, the colour red plays a key part in the branding of the website, so using a red food item is a clever way of reinforcing the branding. The other dominant colour in the photo is white, note the table and dishes. This allows the red to stand out more, adding to the impact of the photo. The text is also in white, which makes it integrate better with the photo. Let's now analyse the homepage. Yummy! Isn't that delicious? Like the sign-up page, the homepage continues using large-sized imagery to create a strong emotional response. As I'm sure you'll know, the New York Times is a newspaper, and we can see some printed design techniques in the form of these boxes. The use of these design elements is excellent. The user's eyes will be drawn first to the lovely photography, which will allow them to take notice of this Recipe of the Day badge. The user's eyes will then naturally move over to the headline box. The whole layout has a friction-free flow, which allows the emotional power of the photography to be even stronger. Scroll down and we get this Our Cook section. Compared to the power of the large imagery we saw earlier, these smaller boxes are a significant step down. Of course, not every photo can be large, but they could have perhaps used a slideshow with thumbnails. That way, only one image would have been on screen at a time, leaving room for that image to be bigger. On the other hand, in publications such as the New York Times, the writers often carry more weight than the subjects they cover, so making them this accessible is probably a good idea. Underneath is this featured collection section. The design is quite organic. You'll notice that these boxes don't fit into a grid, and some elements are overlapping each other. It creates a playful feel, making the page more friendly and welcoming. Scrolling down brings up this Learn to Cook section. Using a background that is in the opposite colour from the rest of the page helps to break up this section. The popular collection section finishes off the page. The thumbnails are fairly large, which allows them to maximise the emotional appeal of the food imagery. Large thumbnails like this run the risk of overpowering the section. However, the page avoids this by using a strong grid layout, which brings order to the area. These white tiles are particularly good, as they control the images by ensuring the attention they attract is focused on the text that accompanies them. Let's look at the recipe box section. This is an amazing design thanks to three key features. The first feature is the black background for the sidebar, which allows it to strongly contrast with the white background of the content. Sidebars can usually cause a page to be cluttered, so the strong contrast constrains the sidebar to its own area and keeps it out of the way. At the same time, the contrast also ensures that it is easily identifiable. This brilliant use of contrast also extends to this new collection button. It's the only orange item in the area, which again makes it stand out and easily identifiable, but being isolated at the bottom, it is kept out of the way. The second great design feature is the hierarchy of these recipe cards. The most important information is the title, and it is set in a bold black font. As we go down, the text becomes lighter, with the least important information being displayed in a light grey. The final design feature is the animation. The way these cards exit is wonderful. It's a simple effect, but it helps to add a touch of slickness to the page. Let's move on to the recipe page. This page contains many of the design techniques that we've explored elsewhere on the site, such as large food imagery, clean white backgrounds to focus attention, and a clear hierarchy. There are some new elements. The presentation of these key points is particularly well done. The type treatment is also great, as the fonts give it a newspaper feel. Let's analyse the navigation. The navigation is a thin bar which ensures it doesn't get in the way of the content. However, as it is tethered to the top of the screen, it's always accessible. The bright orange colour helps to establish an identity for the brand. It also makes the navigation easy to identify. When scrolling down, the background changes to black, which is probably a good idea, as keeping it orange would have caused it to distract too much attention away from the content. The navigation does have 3 problems, however. The first is the wording for this recipe box link. It's a poor title because it isn't clear that it links to a page for users to store their favourite recipes. If it was called My Recipes, it would be clearer. The second problem are these double arrows. They are used to call up the recipe box sidebar, but again this functionality isn't obvious. The final problem is this cooking logo, which links back to the home page. It is awkwardly placed here as it feels out of order. It would have been more intuitive if they had placed a home link at the start of the navigation, over here. One really good aspect of the navigation bar is the search. The icon that represents search is great, as it doesn't take up too much room, but its meaning is clearly obvious. When clicking on it, the site avoids the mistake of squeezing a search bar in the navigation and instead displays this secondary search area. This works really well, especially thanks to the great range of filters that make it easy to narrow down the result. Let's finish this analysis by examining the site on mobile. Surprisingly, despite being a modern and brilliantly designed site, it does not actually have a responsive layout. This is disappointing, as most people don't have a computer in the kitchen, and so are more likely to use this site on a mobile device. The clean design means that it works fairly well on tablet, but mobile users will have to resort to plenty of pinching and zooming. In conclusion, New York Times Cooking is only in beta, but it has to be one of the best websites we have analysed on DesignMind. The photography is brilliant and creates a strong emotional connection. The layout makes excellent use of contrast and hierarchy and allows for an intuitive interface that is simply a joy to use. That's it for this episode of DesignMind. A new episode of DesignMind is released every Monday and Thursday. Find us on the web at designmind.info. Our YouTube channel is at youtube.com/designmindinfo. You can also find us on iTunes. We'd love it if you could leave us a review at any of these places. Until next time, happy designing!